Good evening. Welcome to Tux TV. I am your host, Jimmy Tux. And I got, let's close that out. I have had a wonderful night streaming. I like to thank special shout out to Neil the Atheist, Neil the 604 Atheist, and Mikey, his cohort that brought me onto the show, let me do my deconversion story, got me tilted over the 100 sub mark, and so we're gonna do a little bit of a after party after party, because Neil did an after party and I'm going to do an after party. So I invited some of the folks that were at the after party. It looks like I got Steph and Megan. Let's do that view. And Ember said he was going to show up, but he had some things he needed to do, and he was going to show mid-show. No, and we got a special guest in the background there. That's
Jasmine.
Jasmine is attending to something.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
She wants something.
Who's a kitty? Oh.
She's been my trooper for 16 years.
Wow. All right. Well, I've got nothing planned. We're probably gonna do a little bit of a chat around. Maybe play a couple of clips of weird things that I saw today. There is kind of one clip that I would like to pull up, but I don't know. I bet it's copywritten, but I think we'll give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Lose my channel right after I get 100 subs. Who cares?
They'll pause your stream for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you stop playing the music, and then they'll let your stream go back up again.
Yeah.
You don't even have to stop being live.
Yeah.
Congrats on the 100.
Yeah, thank you, Neil, and Mikey to thank for that. And I've been enjoying it. I met some interesting characters today too. Phoebe was it's going to be hard to forget Phoebe.
My first time meeting Phoebe too.
You've never met Phoebe J. Rose?
You know, now that I think about it, I think I've seen something, but I couldn't tell you what. So I don't think it's the first time I've seen her on screen, but it's definitely my first interaction in the same video. So, what, Megan, do you have a channel?
Not really, no. I have like 2 videos and 2 live streams on my channel. I have like 120 subs.
Oh.
But
wow.
One of my videos is a troll video, so not really something I'm like want everybody to go view.
Well, I thank you for coming on. And you definitely had like Tweety birds and angels and witches and stuff like that flying around your head earlier tonight. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It reminded me a bit of Who Framed Roger Rabbit when he's making the cartoon at the beginning with Baby Herman.
Yeah.
I'll save you, Baby Herman.
Yeah, I can do a couple things flying around my head.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something to do. It's different, you know. This isn't even one of the good ones. There's a lot of better programs out there and softwares.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty cool.
I do like some of the random things that go by. Like one of my favorite is this guy.
Oh, let's put the chat on here overlaying. Chat overlay.
Nice. I always
Yeah.
appreciate when people do that on their live streams.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Neil stopped by. It said, go
Go to bed.
go to bed, you party animals. Woo! Look at that. Ember's got the strawberries going. Randy's here. I am not familiar with me. Me
That's
is
me.
new. That's you.
Yeah.
Me is new to the channel.
Me is Megan.
Me is Megan.
That's literally me.
Me.
Just-
Sounds like we're about to have a who's on first. Ember and Randy.
Yeah, but that is my YouTube person.
Very nice. Very nice.
I'm pretty much the same person.
It confuses people. You know, I'm like, no, I'm me. And it's like, what? I'm like, no, me in the chat is me. It's the first two letters of my name, so I picked it.
Makes sense.
No, well, I sign all my little notes at home, just ME, the beginning of my signature. And then I carried that on. What somebody's like, you could tell this person's a real narcissist. Her name is me. And I'm like, oh, that's right. That does sound very narcissistic.
There was a song from the late 70s called Him, or something like that. Me. Or is it me? I can't remember.
Me sounds right.
Is it me? It's him. What are we gonna do about him? Something.
That doesn't sound narcissistic.
And then he goes back into me.
Mm.
Like this poor guy singing, and it just sounds like it must have been really hard to get laid back in the 70s.
They had lewds back then. Come on,
That was surprisingly easy, actually.
I know.
To be honest, I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna lie.
You don't have to worry about condoms.
But, you know. Yeah, there was that bit. There was not. Yeah, it's not a great deal of concern about.
Not that I know.
There was
I
the
was
usual
maybe-
concern about STDs, but not ones that necessarily kill you. Yeah, it's syphilis, gonorrhea. Yeah.
That's right.
No AIDS.
The mild,
Just the usual
benign
suspects.
ones.
No AIDS. No AIDS. AIDS was something else. That whole thing was bad.
Yeah. That's bad. Let's see.
Well, it was God's vengeance.
Yeah,
You know.
he's such a
And you know that kind of bullshit was coming from the White House. It was coming. The phone calls coming from within the house.
shocker. A big country founded on freedom of religions and church, separation of church and state. I'm worried that it's going to end up a religious state in the near future, if it pretty much is already,
Yeah.
but officially. It's gonna be
It
the
could.
evangelicals.
The issues are not exclusive to people who have a God belief, in my view. I've talked to enough atheists that harbor deep prejudice against people in the LGBTQ community. That it's not that problem is a separate problem.
Oh yeah,
It's not a question of God belief. It's a question of prejudice.
but they don't have their hands on the
And
politics.
where it comes from, maybe it comes from a foundation in Christian ethics, quote unquote, which seems to me to be a bit of an oxymoron.
Connect.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not sure that atheists get a pass just because they don't believe in God.
I wasn't giving them a pass. I was just-
In fact, I'm absolutely positive they don't get a pass because they don't believe in a God.
I was just talking about this country becoming a religious state.
Yeah. And
I don't
I agree. It's a huge fear. I mean, it's a tremendous fear, and it's happening. It's It's not something that's it's happening before your eyes. It's happening in Florida. It's happening in Texas. It's happening in Arkansas. It's happening all over the place. It is happening. And where they burn books, they will burn people.
Yeah, the state I'm in is mostly red, but the 2 main cities keep it blue. But, I mean, it's Oregon for you, so we'd have to be cut out of the West Coast if we went purple or red. But it's still, you see that shit happening and it scares you that's going to come and affect where you're at. But it affects regardless, even if it's in other states.
Yeah, it's definitely the domination, the factor that subdue Christian plan, because it's ordained by God. I'm definitely in the category of let's stop that.
Yeah. I mean, just so many people who even disagree with the direction that the country's going in, they just feel like they can't do anything about it. They're one person. And so many people are just fine with their lives and the contentment that they don't want to make any action towards movement.
But why focus on just the religious? Why not focus on the issues?
Oh, I'm talking about all issues. Anything that the majority of people don't like. It could be any issue, but they're just not unwilling to take the time out of their day or go against the grain or, create waves or anything. And some people, they feel like they're just one person and they don't matter. Their vote doesn't even matter. So it's it's a little discouraging. And it's hard to make a difference when you're one person. And so people just don't, they're fine. They're content in their lives. They're just not going to do anything about it. They might bitch about it, but that's it.
So bitch as one person.
Oh, no, I absolutely do.
Bitch.
I absolutely do.
That's do what you can, where you can, when you can that's the best you can do. You can't do much more than that, right? You can do what you can, where you can, when you can. You can't go. Can't expect anything more of anybody than what they're able to do.
But how do the common folk make a difference and a change? It's really it's hard to even encourage other people to do that. It's
you go to the school board meeting, you go to the town hall, you go to the town hall, you do what you can in your space and make your case. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about, it can be about climate change, it can be about environmental issues, it can be about human rights, it can be about anything. Make your voice heard, and you don't have to, obviously, but be that gadfly, be the change.
Yeah, change isn't going to happen
you want to see.
We all sit around waiting for someone to
if you sit around with your thumb up your ass, then you obviously don't have that motivation. But you don't have to sit around with your thumb up your ass. You can do other things.
Yeah,
you can you can do stuff, even if it's putting your voice out there. A lot of people don't want to. A lot of people fear to, and with good reason.
Yeah, and that's I don't judge those people. Now I am someone who is willing to put their voice, and I'm very blunt. So when it comes down to it, but trying to encourage those around you that feel the same way to also do the same thing. They're just like, nah. They don't want to even go out and vote. And I'm like, I'm not able to vote. And I'm just like, oh, well, give me your vote. I would love to vote. So it can be frustrating.
Yeah. I feel like if you are a person at the tip of the spear, and and you have the ability, then you should. You really should. You should say stuff.
Well, the tip of the spear is the part that kills people. I want to be at the base of the spear, the one throwing it. Spear, sorry. Hey, Eric.
Hi,
Eric.
I don't know if you. I don't know if I'm phrasing it well enough. It's a lot of people who are at the tip of the spear, and people look at us and go, well, why are they so angry? Why are they so? Well, it's on account of the fact that our history is being erased, our books are being burned, or excluded from libraries, and in some places actually physically burned. A lot of this, and there's a lot of misinformation about us being brooded about in arenas that have wide distribution, and to sit and suffer in silence without using your whatever voice you have to say, hey, this stuff's gonna bite you in the ass, is, to me, irresponsible. But that's because I'm privileged, because I have privilege. I have a certain amount of privilege, and in other words, I've got change in the purse, not literally. I'm actually poor as a church mouse, but I have the ability to say stuff, and if I don't say stuff, then I'm not gonna be keeping faith with people who will come after me, who are in similar situations. And the thing I know, looking back, is these struggles are never ending.
Mm-hmm.
They're never ending. They just don't end. And people have a desire to find a quiet place to sit and not be concerned about matters. Like, people are willing to surrender to authority altogether too easily.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't. We shouldn't.
No.
Well,
because if it's you that's getting mowed down, it's going to be somebody else. And if you're going to turn your eyes away and say, well, you know, it'd be better if I just kept my mouth shut and go along to get along and all of that.
And be the next.
Yeah, somebody else is going to take it in the teeth pretty soon. So it's just, I can't. And it's probably a terrible failing on my part.
Well, I've really only been able to, like, not change minds, but at least get people to think a little bit more, you know, openly, and consider things outside of their echo chamber.
There's Eric.
Eric's phasing in and out.
I turned on my VPN so I can download Ahsoka Episode 8.
Ah, nice.
Okay.
Legally, of course. Legally.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
There's no piracy here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my. A pirate.
Yeah. So we are at a bit of a disadvantage. Not just population-wise, but money-wise, right? There's big organizations that are pushing hard to keep things the way they are, and they learn from Star Wars, right? Like there's the one evangelical movement that's saying, oh, all those guys with the deliverance ministries and all the demon stuff, they're the real threat to the Church of Christ, and then the demon people are all like, oh, those guys are in bed with the devil, and they're paid by the same people. Kenneth Copeland pays both of their salaries. And we're kind of the wild card who's excluded from the conversation. We get straw manned from time to time. We go, oh, at least these guys aren't those atheists. But we just don't have the numbers. We don't have the backing. We can't crowdfund an AIG. We don't have a billionaire to pony up the money for our version of the Institute for Creation Research. And, you know, these guys like the Discovery Institute, they try to knock down science, but they do it specifically to try to push creationism into the classrooms for the purpose of political control. They leaked a document a few years ago called the Wedge Document, which it's a fun thing that everybody should Google. TLDR, their main mission is to establish a Christian theocracy. The way they're going about it by trying to get creationism into the schools, that's just the means. They don't actually care about the science. It's all about the power. And they've got the funding to do it, and we don't. So, changing minds, influencing people where possible is absolutely critical. Even more important is creating a community where people can feel like they can leave that Christian nonsense and have somewhere to go. But we still have that huge financial disadvantage, which ultimately is what powers the politics.
Yeah, but well, okay. Yeah, I'll grant you that. My problem is my problem within the atheist community is it just because you're an atheist doesn't mean that you're gonna be a skeptic, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to carry the prejudices that were ingrained in you as a member of your church, as a member of your religious tradition. It doesn't mean that those prejudices aren't going to continuously be carried on to the point where well, yeah, God belief is stupid, but, you know, I hate fags. You know, it's the problem. The problem is, and I see it all the time, is, well, we're atheists. We're free thinkers. We're free thought people. And yet within the organizations that are built, you're going to build in prejudice, bigotry, hatred. You're going to be tolerant of it. You're gonna let it poison your organization to the point where you're kind of stepping on your dick.
It's a fun way to put it, but yeah, I tend to agree that a lot of the people, the religious bigots, aren't bigots because they're religious, right? There's so many Christians who just aren't that way. Even Muslims, although it's a little harder to find. The people who are bigoted stay bigoted even when they leave the church. They're using the church as an excuse for the bigotry. It's not me that hates fags, it's God that hates fags. I'm perfectly innocent in all of this.
That's because the God that is created is a reflection of you. You know, and that's what the religious folks have. Is they have a supernatural being, a creation of their own imagination, who happens to agree with them in every detail as far as who should be a part of the human race, and who deserves mercy and who deserves punishment. They happen to agree. Their God happens to coincidentally, somehow or another, agree with them in precise detail. And there's no better proof for the fact that gods are products of the human imagination than that, to me. And the problem is that even without that God belief, your actual praxis is gonna be subject to your own prejudices, to your own class biases, to your own matrix, to what you've grown up with. And until you get to the point where you actually question everything, including yourself, you got problems. And the thing is that especially people who have made that leap away from, well, no, God's stupid, or the Bible, I don't need to be guided by this text or that text or another text. If they harbor those beliefs are still going to be coming out in their praxis, in their voting habits, in the way they proceed through life. I mean, I've got, I could pull out of the file instances of this, and it's frustrating. It's tremendously frustrating because, again, if you're at the tip of the spear, if you are a victim of people's prejudices, and you see them every fucking day, and you see them writ small, and you see them writ large, it's like, hey, stop, think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Being some of the larger battles I'm fighting right now are with people in the skeptic community. Yeah, there's a big difference between an atheist and a skeptic and a humanist, and so many people are only skeptical of the things they don't personally already buy into. They don't get, well, I guess it's like a level up from regular critical thinking. It's like scientific thinking, right? Like Mary Schweitzer, who I learned today was not actually a young Earth creationist. That was a lie spread by AIG. Shock and surprise. She puts it as like the way you're a real person is cogito ergo sum. You're able to doubt your own existence, and the fact you can question it means it's true. It's the same thing with all of our biases. Like, if you find yourself having a bias, try to disprove it. Use the scientific method against yourself. It kind of goes beyond critical thinking. Like, you're not just questioning everything, you're like actively opposing the positions you yourself hold to see if they stand up.
Most people are incapable of doing that, of like even looking at themselves in the mirror, admitting any sort of fault. How would they how would they challenge their own beliefs if they can't even admit to the smallest things?
Yeah, that's accountability is a big part of the reason people stay in religion, because they feel like, oh, I have my faults, sure, Jesus will forgive me, though. Whereas if you leave, then you're on your own.
Yeah, and some religions will go as far as to be like, you have to shun that person, because in Christianity or Catholicism, it's just like, I think you lose the community. I don't know. I've never been religious, so I don't even have a deconversion story. I just never really believed. I didn't even label myself an atheist till just a few years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. But yeah, I guess you lose your sense of community.
Yeah, with a lot of Christian sects. Yeah, they if Eric comes back on, he can tell you about Jehovah's Witnesses. Their whole thing is you can't leave because you lose your family, your friends, everyone you know, because they're all part of the cult. And if you become an apostate, you're shunned, you're cut off, just like the ancient Israelis used to do. Not all of Christianity is like that, but there are sections of it that are.
Yeah. Yeah, and that must suck. I mean, I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Eric, you have a Jedi look going on this evening.
Yeah.
I'm in hacker mode. I wear this whenever I download. video games.
Nice.
No, it's a little chilly in here.
You know what? I'm gonna put my hood up also, not because I'm cold or anything, but sometimes a layer of wool when I've had the earphones on this long allows my ears to breathe a little bit.
I always take one off and just kind of tuck it a little bit behind my ear. Helps so much.
Oh, I do that when I'm working on something, editing or whatever. I'll put something on my phone, and I'll have my phone on my earpiece, and then I'll have the other earpiece on the computer.
Yeah, plus I have to do that if I have anybody wanting to talk around me, because I'm already hard of hearing if there's any background noise, let alone with some really good earphones on.
We're one hooded figure away from a cult.
Yeah.
Oh, I can fix that. Give me a
Look,
minute.
Yes.
I feel like I should. I feel like I should change. I feel like I should go for another top. Get one.
Once Amber gets back.
It's too hot to wear a hoodie where I'm at.
Yeah, but I've got light stuff with a hoodie because for sailing, you get tech shirts and stuff with a hoodie to keep the sun out of your face.
I can put a hijab on. Got scarves.
Yeah, no, I don't
it
know.
wouldn't be the same.
That'd be the thing.
Covering one's head is not the same as just wearing a hood.
Yeah, it's kind of been casting around for where do you land in this crazy media mix, and I don't really land in the philosophical debate realm or that. Although it's kind of fun. I it's not like it's totally foreign, but
I do like the philosophical.
I'm more concerned with what's really happening to real people in the real world, and I think it's beyond argumentation that grifters like I don't know, Copeland and Turek and Ham and all these guys, it's just so fucking boring because it's pretty goddamn clear what they're up to. They're just in it for the souls. And I'm sure that some of the more sincere are in it for the souls, but they're also in it for the money, and it's
all about the money.
And it's like Franklin Graham, who's got a heritage, he comes from a long line of Southern Baptist altar calls and all of this stuff. Well, it makes really great coin.
Yeah. I mean, they make no bones about it.
But the damage they do to people's psyches and the people they target.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Stephanie.
There's definitely a problem here.
Stephanie, you're now the odd one out. You need to join the club.
The cult has been forming before your eyes.
Eric
All
is clearly our
right.
leader.
One of us. One of us.
Jesus Christ.
Once we're all hooded, I have something we can do to unite us. It'll
Oh,
seal
that
us
doesn't
together.
sound ominous.
It'll seal us together as a I don't want to say cult. We're a high control group, but we're honest with ourselves. We're a high control group.
How are we going to exchange the blood, though?
Oh, I got that ready to go. Don't worry.
How can you be in a high control group when you're out of control?
There you go.
I don't know.
Paradoxically? Yeah, why not? No, I fucking Copeland. Turek is a little more subtle with his grift, but Copeland is just out there with, bring me the money!
Mm-hmm.
He is right up the face of it.
But And I'm old enough to remember Oral Roberts saying, you know, if you don't give me money right now, the Lord is gonna call me home. And put your hands on the radio and your pen in your hand. Jesus.
Yeah, I think the one thing that really made me not a believer was because I did grow up in a semi-Catholic home, but not practicing. And I went to Catholic school for 4 months before they expelled me, and the church burned down right before I got there, so I had nothing to do with that. But
What
A likely story.
We didn't remember, or we didn't help out somebody who had to clean up, who's assigned to cleaning up our lunch area that day, and her partner was sick, so she did it by herself, and none of us helped. We were in 3rd grade, you know. It's like, and our whole class was condemned. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good, or that doesn't sound reasonable.
There we go. And now the ritual can begin. This is our blood sacrifice. Her name is Amelia.
No.
Aunt Jura is going to have your kidneys.
Amelia has valiantly volunteered. Yes.
No.
Want to say hi to everybody, Amelia?
She's like, hell no.
Say hi, Amelia.
That was a protest right there.
Mew at them, Amelia. Come on.
I heard a meow.
You damn you. Anyway.
Yeah, how do we know it's a real cat?
Amelia, I sacrifice this to the ceiling gods.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, the ceiling gods have ceiling cat up there.
Yeah,
so.
probably. I have another creature in the room with me. It's a corgi. We can sacrifice it instead.
My. What have I done?
You started a cult.
I don't know. What have you done?
Look what you allowed to happen on your stream.
Well, actually, no. So I was the first one to put the hoodie on. So I started the cult.
Yes.
Tux, you allowed me to start a cult.
I did. I am the co-conspirator here. It was fun while it lasted, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Oh, maybe that can be our edge against the evangelical monstrosity.
Oh.
And Aunt Jur, I'm sorry, but this cat has no teeth and no front claws, so she's fairly ineffective at fighting me off when I want to sacrifice her. Yeah, this cat had a weird condition where like her own gums were allergic to her teeth. That's how the vet described it. And her gums just didn't want to bond to her teeth. And so her teeth were just rotting out of her mouth. So we just paid to have them all removed. And now she has no teeth. And when she bites you, we call it melming. She like melms you. And it feels so weird to have warm, wet cat gums just go blah. And it's like there's no pain. It just feels really, really strange. But it's actually a good thing, Aunt Jura. Once we removed all her teeth, she was a lot happier. She was no longer in pain. She was a lot less defensive. She warmed up quite a lot. It was actually it sucks to lose your teeth, but overall it was a pretty massive quality of life improvement for her. And she's 12 now.
I have a fair amount of sympathy for the cat because I've lost quite a few of my teeth at advanced age, but you know I can still eat a steak, so it's all good.
Yeah, our dental care has really come very far. Like it's kind of one of our underappreciated things about American society is how good our dental care. Like if you go to the dentist, if you have the insurance.
If you have the insurance.
I'm not saying the American healthcare system is good for that. I'm saying our dental care has really advanced to the point where it's like most of us don't have a lot of major issues.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go, guys.
Megan, it's nice to meet you.
All right, me.
It was a pleasure meeting you too. Thanks for having me. Bye. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you next time I see you.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the out button on here? Oh, I found it. Okay, it's not bright red.
It's not bright red.
Yeah, I can always close the tab and everything's fine.
So yeah, my Wave XLR, the volume kept on adjusting itself because of a Chrome setting. Apparently, Chrome is able to adjust microphone settings internally.
Interesting.
So I had to go into Chrome settings and disable it, and now it's fine.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I've learned a few things recently, like how to stop my camera from being cuckoo and doing weird things, like throwing me out of focus all the time.
yeah.
And all of this. It's just whatever. I guess you dance
struggles.
around these things.
Are those your cats, Ember?
Yeah.
You got 3 cats?
Well, technically they're the upstairs humans' cats, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see they're all friendly with each other.
Oh yeah. This black one in the middle is named Minna for the Zelda character, and he was big mad that they're dogs now, so he's better with the kitties. This little critters is Joy, and yeah, her personality changed when she got fixed. It's like I don't know, she doesn't trust humans quite as much anymore,
Wouldn't yours?
yeah. And this ginger critter, he's not quite to adult size yet. He's still a little guy. He's William. Asked Kevin when he named him. I chuckled, and Kevin went, "What's so funny?" And I said, "He's orange, and you named him William." And he goes, "Yeah, so that's my dad's name." I'm like, "Oh, I assumed it was William of Orange." I too much credit for the jokes, I guess. But yeah, pile of kitties.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Figured since we were catting.
I had a cat. She was a feral cat. She came and then she went. It was kind of funny. She just sort of walked in and then walked out.
Nice. I moved into a long time ago. I moved into a trailer in North Carolina, and there's just a cat that was just there. She was there every day, like she wanted to get fed, and I guess we determined that she must have been an outdoor cat that was just left behind by the old owners. So we moved in for 2 years. We took care of her, and then when we moved out, we couldn't take her with us, but I made sure that the new renters were going to take care of her. I said, "Hey,
aware of the fact that the cat was going to be coming around for little
yeah, it's like this
treats
cat
every
will
now
be
and
here, so you better feed it." Yeah. It's actually really interesting. In North Carolina, I lived near the Outer Banks, and the grass would get these like little stickers in them, like little spiky seeds, and they really hurt.
Yeah.
And it was fun watching this cat go through the yard, and then she would stop at the porch and then just start ripping them out of her own fur and just like spitting them out. Like she'd rip it out and spit it out. It was like, yeah, she was a tough cat.
Yeah.
I forgot what we named it. I can't at all remember what we named it. It's been too long.
I had a half feral cat drop by. Actually, my first cat, technically my grandmother's cat. We lived in a trailer. We had just moved the trailer out of a trailer park to a permanent lot, and it was our first Christmas. And Christmas morning, we're doing the thing. My grandmother lived with us at the time. She was actually doing the raising thing while my parents were whatever. So we were doing the Christmas morning thing. And there was a scratching at the door, and we're like, what the hell is that? We open the door, and there's this calico cat, 2 years old looking, just sitting on the porch. Weirdest thing, no footprints in the snow going up to the porch. It's like she poofed into existence right in front of the door and started scratching.
Yep.
So we opened the door, and we're like, what's this? And she just walked in. I live here now.
Yep. That's how cats are.
Yeah. She stayed with us for 11 years.
I have a grand cat. That's about it. She's, I think she's a half tuxedo, half Russian blue. Kind of cute, but mean as hell.
Yeah.
The cute ones always are.
Russian blues are neat looking cats. There's my wife's aunt and her husband, they have one of those hyperallergenic cats, and the aunt was like, yeah, if I go before this cat does, you get the cat. I'm like, okay. Its name is Moonshadow. It's a neat looking cat. But yeah, it's like you touch it and it's not fur, it's like hair, and it doesn't shed. You can pull on the cat all day long. It doesn't come out.
Well, that's better than if I go before the parrot does. You get the parrot.
They
because
have a
that
bird.
means you're getting a parrot.
They have two birds.
It means you're getting a parrot,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's actually kind of funny. So the birds belong to her.
Fucking African Greys live till they're 50.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Birds are a commitment. Yeah, they have two birds. The husband is into the birds. My aunt-in-law doesn't like the birds very much. She tolerates them, but she always jokes around. It's like, yeah, if my husband goes before the birds do, the birds are going to shortly join him afterwards because she just doesn't want to take care of them. As a joke, of course. Yeah. But yeah,
She's already good, but she's looking up recipes for squab.
Yeah. Exactly. They're affectionate birds, though. They just sit there. And, yeah. One's name is Paco, and I think the other one's name is Coco. Very, very generic names for birds.
Yeah, I have a dog we rescued that is named Coco.
Yeah.
And great little dog. Great little dog.
What's up?
I rescued a parrot once. My mom already had a Quaker parrot, and she was trying to teach it words, because Quakers are relatively smart, can get a big vocabulary, but it only picked up words from Star Trek's The Next Generation. So that was fun. And the
Make it so.
Rock, engage! Rock!
Exactly. So the bird I got, I don't know how old she was.
Rock! No, Worf! Rock!
She was the most foul-mouthed little beastie.
That's great.
Like, if she wanted you to stick your finger in and pet her, and you didn't, you'd go, fuck you, and then go to the other side of the cage.
Have you ever seen that video of the parakeet, the budgie, that sounds like R2-D2?
Oh, no.
No.
It is so cute, but you look at it and you go, I would not be able to handle this for however long a budgie lives, like 3 years. Like, it's adorable at first, but I'm like, if I was hearing this all day, I would go insane.
Oh, yeah, parakeets take a while to get used to.
Yeah. So
We had a pair of them when I was little. It took me like 2 years before I finally adapted and didn't hear the constant squawking anymore.
Yeah, you start to filter it out.
Mm-hmm.
Can I present? Do you mind if I present Tux?
Yeah.
Promise won't get you banned.
Well, that's good.
Can I do a screen share? Extra? Oh, you can do an extra camera? What? You can have 2 cameras on the stream? Well, let's do this.
Yeah, you can do. I've never done it. I bet supposedly I'm able to connect my iPhone to the stream and have another camera angle.
That's fascinating. I'm gonna try it out because I have 2 cameras. I got my really nice Canon that I'm using right now, and I have this shitty Logitech webcam that I bought for work from home a few years ago.
Let me see if I.
Ironically, I'm using my shitty Logitech right now, and my Lumix is over yonder.
So I have my Moment of Zen queued up. I don't know if that interferes with you sharing your screen. Did you hit the? Do you have an option to share screen?
I got distracted by the second camera.
Oh,
I just enabled it so you can actually see 2 cameras.
Oh
now.
yeah, I can see 2 cameras.
Can you have that?
Huh.
Really?
Yeah, I have not attempted to add another screen.
Okay, share
Oh
screen.
yeah,
There we
that's
go.
new. That's neat.
Okay, I'm sharing my second camera and I'm sharing a screen. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. I love it.
It's awesome. And now
It's
imagine this all
lovely.
day, every day.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I mean, yes, I can, and it sounds like hell.
I find it adorable that this bird is blue, black, and white, just like R2-D2. Like,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
It's
Yeah.
so perfect.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Anyway, there you go.
That is
spare you-
brilliant.
I wonder.
I'll spare you the
R2
other
is
minute of
beat-
this.
I I wonder if R2's beeps means something in the parakeet native language.
I don't know.
Have you
Yeah,
seen?
I know a bunch of nerds who would they wouldn't care. They'd be like, "This is the best thing ever."
Have you seen? In Ahsoka. So Ahsoka, the current Star Wars series, is a continuation, basically, of Rebels, the animated series.
I have not seen either.
There's an R2D2 like droid in it named Chopper.
Yes.
And there's an ongoing joke right now that Chopper is one of the biggest war criminals in the galaxy, because if you put together all the scenes, Chopper's like a kind of a comedic relief, almost like borderline psychopath droid. He has no qualms of putting human life at risk, even his friends. He has killed so many Imperials with his antics. It's like he is a war criminal. So there is videos recently of shots of him. They kind of like deciphered his sounds and his voice. And I guess what happened is the way they do his sounds is they actually have lines and then they like modulate it to make
I
it
tried
sound
to
like
do
a
camera
droid.
1, camera 2, but your audio is only hooked up to one of them.
Oh, hold on then. Not muted. So if you put me in there, there's 2 audio streams.
Only one.
Yeah, not hearing on that
that
second one.
one's not working now.
Oh, okay.
So
Anywho.
only your first one.
I see. So anyway, long story short, there's videos of people putting subtitles on him and matching up to the sounds, and he says like some crazy psychotic stuff when he's talking. He's like, "Why don't we just blow up the ship?" And Hera, the other character's like, "We can't do it. We're over a city." And Chopper's like, "I don't care." This is like hilarious.
Finally, a
Biological.
robot homicidal maniac.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. I would play it, but you'll probably get you'll probably get copyright strike because it's very new Star Wars content.
Yeah, and definitely demonetized.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but demonetization is not an issue. It's more like
I
getting
abused the
copyright
hell
struck.
out of during that long period when I was under 1,000. People would be like, "Oh, I can do this, but it'll get you demonetized." I'm like, "Hey, let's do it."
Yeah. I never had that Wild West period because
I know your first freaking video.
I went from like 20 subscribers to like 2,500 like over a weekend. I was like, oh my god, I was actually it was actually stressful. Every time I woke up and I saw I had many more subscribers, I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this.
Bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing. Was it JW content?
No, it was me responding. So Joe Wensley, he's a Christian pastor. He appeared on Godless Engineer's channel. I dropped him a super chat asking him a very simple question, and his brain melted down in the process of answering it. And so I sent that was about a year ago when that super chat occurred. And it was under my personal account with like my personal name. Like I wasn't planning on using this for like YouTube content. And then in December, I was like, I'm going to make a video on this. So I did. And it just blew up. Yeah. I wasn't quite ready for that.
You never know what's going to explode. It's like,
Yeah, you never know.
It's really kind of funny. It's like, I'm tipping over the J24 to clean the bottom. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you get 2,500 views. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yep.
People like boats.
People do like boats, especially people who like boats. They like boats, so it's a niche thing, It's and I don't know. I'm again, as I was saying earlier, I don't know what my niche is really, but
Yeah, the tricky thing is finding.
I kind of
the
know
unique
what my
stuff.
I kind of know what I want my niche to be, or at least where I want my voice to be heard. My voice, I want to be heard in the realm of people who think trans women don't belong in every sphere of life. And that's kind of what I want to be saying to people, because everybody seems to think that this is some kind of new phenomenon, And darling, I'm nearly 70, and I'm tired of this shit. And all y'all seem to have discovered this bullshit sometime within the last 5 years. And it's stupid. I just want to call it out. It's just stupid. I mean, it's like, fucking Pine Creek just discovered that trans people existed. And all of a sudden, it's the biggest thing ever. And you know what he says on his fucking channel? He says, I'm just having so much fun with this. At whose expense, man?
Yeah, fucking great for you, Doug.
At whose fucking expense? Play your poker. Have your fun. Make your tea time. But leave me the fuck alone. I am tired of people like Doug, people like Stephen Woodford, people like this who all of a sudden have discovered that there's some kind of crisis about trans women playing games. It's what the hell's wrong with you guys? And I do mean guys, because it's only women. You don't care about trans men. And that pisses me off too. You don't care about trans people. You don't care about us at all, except you're having fun. And you're atheists. Woohoo! Good for you.
Yeah, I don't understand what Doug gets out of being right on the subject. I just don't get it.
He's not right. That's the thing.
Well, I'm asking you, he's not right.
Yeah.
Asking him, he's right.
He has his own logic, and I think he's following his own logic. I think there's a bit of a difference in values between
his logic leads him to erase me from the public sphere. I object to that.
So I haven't followed entirely your guys' conversations. I know you guys had conversations together before. Hold on, my dog's getting crazy. I was trying to show him off. Let me put him down. Okay. So don't get me wrong. I'm not here to white knight for Doug, but when I watch him interact, and like I said, I don't agree with him on pretty much most of his political positions, including trans rights.
It's not a political position.
Well, it overlaps into politics, and it's a political tool, so that's why I kind of lump it into that.
It's a political tool.
Yeah.
And it's a cynical tool.
Right. So, from my impressions of Doug on that, and like I said, I don't have a full picture of it because I haven't watched everything that he's ever said about it. I think his primary two contentions that have to do with trans issues are trans women in sports, and also transitioning people under 18 with hormone blockers and permanent surgeries and stuff like that.
Sure.
And we discussed this the other night when we were offline. I'm just going to kind of throw it out there. While I don't agree with him on, I don't have much of an opinion on sports because I've never been a sports fan. But on the transitioning kids below 18, I'm sorry, not kids, but those below 18, kids, sure, why not? Let's call them that. I do think that Doug has his own logic. I do think he's trying to find consistency in it. He is jovial about it. He's lighthearted about it. I don't necessarily agree with that because, Stephanie, you and others, and myself included, this is an issue that's close to the heart because this is people it's directly affecting people's lives, either positively or negatively. I do believe that he has his own logic. I do believe that he's pursuing it honestly. He is jovial about it. He is, I don't call it heartless, but you know him. He's like that with everybody. He's like, toughen up.
No, I'd call it heartless.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd call it
yeah,
heartless.
and I can totally understand
I
why
would
you
call
would.
it heartless on account of the fact that it doesn't affect him in slightly.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect him in the least.
Yeah,
it doesn't affect anybody in the fucking least.
There's
if
a
you don't want to watch us, if you don't want to watch a sporting contest with a trans woman in it, don't.
Yeah. I agree. He has a detachment.
Go fuck off and die. You know, it's like, come on, it doesn't matter. What difference does it make to you?
Yeah.
It's a field you don't care about. It's a field you tell the world you don't care about. It's a field that you basically say the only reason you're engaging in this is to have a little fun. And you know what? Your little bit of fun is actually hurting people's lives. And to me, that makes you a goddamn idiot.
Yeah, he does have it. There's a detachment there that he's going to, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, enjoy. Like he's not going to have that that kind of closeness to the issue on that. And that's probably influencing the way he handles it. Yeah, and I think that's just kind of the right leaning side of him. Like we kind of see that as a common thread within right wing politics. Like toughen up. You don't deserve compassion. That's probably an exaggeration, but
it's not far off though.
Yeah, it's along those lines essentially. Like be self-sufficient, toughen up. Don't basically, like, you're not a victim even though society's stacked against you, things like that. And into the more extremes, like, I got mine, so screw you, or I'm up the ladder. I'm going to pull the ladder up now, like to the more extreme examples. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just kind of that's the major schism in our society right now, are those that have kind of a default position of empathy towards others and others that don't, or others that don't have that natural inclination until someone that they care about is affected by some social issue. And then all of a sudden, oh, now I think, LGBTQ should have rights because my child came out of the closet.
You see the problem here. The problem here, I don't know if you do, but I'm going to point out one of the problems here is like, I get told toughen up, you can take it. Yeah, I've been told you can take it. And it's like, well, good for you. And say, buck up, Minky, it's blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I've bucked up for 25 fucking years. I've bucked up a whole ton. And, a long time before it even fucking crossed your mind that I existed or that people like me existed. You haven't thought about the problem, and yet you have the fucking temerity to tell me to buck up and fight your battles. And you know what? I fought them. And now I have to fight you because you get a kick out of it. It's like, it's such bullshit. It's such
hypocrisy too.
Absolute garbage.
They want other people to toughen up so that they don't have to not spew so much bullshit. Have to. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, they can't toughen up and just accept people exist.
I am so fucking sorry that my existence causes you such pain. And you turn around and tell me to grow a fucking pair? Fuck off. Seriously, just fuck right the hell off.
Well, I like Doug, by the way, full disclosure. So I watch pretty much 100% of what he has on.
I'm fucking bringing it.
100% of his content on his Pine Creek channel, but I don't watch very much of his Pine Creek politics. I could care less.
Yeah,
it's completely insignificant to me.
That's great, but the problem is that's terrific. That's good for you. That's good for everybody. But it looks different. It looks different when you're sitting at the tip of the spear. spear.
I totally understand
And
that.
if you want to call yourself a fucking ally, then you need to take into consideration the totality of somebody's position.
Well,
So can I ask? Let me ask a couple questions here. And I mean, I totally understand. Like Doug has probably a complete detachment from the issue because he, as far as I know, he's not directly related or very close to anyone who's trans. I have numerous trans friends, both online and at work. So I am a bit closer to the issue, but I still, as a cis white guy, cis hetero white guy, I have a detachment from it as well. I'm closer to it, but
You can be queer and
I
it's
can't.
fine with
Yeah,
me.
and I can't like. I can be an ally without fully understanding exactly the strife and pain that the trans community has gone through. I can look at it and go, I can imagine how it feels. I can imagine what you guys are going through, and I can empathize and do what I can to help. So, I guess my question is like I said, I think Doug's position is on the sports issue and on the permanent body alteration surgeries for those under 18. Can you point to anything that he said outside of those two things that is a direct threat that you perceive to you or to the trans community in general? Because I want to like address something concrete. Because as far as I know, he hasn't talked much outside of those two subjects. But I could be wrong. I haven't watched 100% of his content. If there's more, I want to know about it so I can learn about it.
Well, I haven't been watching Doug all that much. I was just starting to get into it when he made his position clear, and I'm like, ooh, no.
Yeah.
But I will say from other people who share similar views that those particular positions, it's as Mark would put it, it's a Mott and Bailey strategy. He puts these parts forward because they're socially acceptable to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's just a smokescreen for the overall position that trans people are icky and shouldn't exist.
That could entirely be the case with Doug. It's definitely the case with a lot of other people. They tend to keep their cards close to their chest for the most part, and they'll only express certain issues that they find that, hey, this is kind of more morally acceptable. That could be the case with Doug. I'm not sure.
The sports thing is a red herring because people. I don't know if Doug actually cares about sports. I'm skeptical.
Yeah,
It's just it's an okay way, a socially acceptable way to express, oh, well, trans people shouldn't be. The underage thing, similar thing, because fundamentally, trans people existing is about bodily autonomy. And the conservatives have a harder time opposing all trans people, though some of them do quite openly.
Yeah.
But with somebody who's under the age of majority, they don't have full bodily autonomy. So it's easier to say, oh, we need to watch out for these kids because some big spooky boogeyman is going to get them or what have you.
Yeah.
When it's almost a non-issue. Like there's a few fringe cases like Chloe Cole where there's some surgery before 18. And it's in those rare cases, and I do mean rare. I think it's been 5 in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That nobody gets bottom surgery before majority. So it's ishy. Those are regrettable cases. People like Chloe Cole who regret their situation. But the regret rate for transitioning is lower than the regret rate for LASIK eye surgery.
Yeah. We allow all kinds of permanent surgeries to those below 18. Like
and including gender affirming care,
eye surgery. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. We have eye surgery, nose surgeries. My wife had a deviated septum and a crooked nose, and she had it corrected before she was 18. Braces. We have lots of other things. In the sense of rarity, and I don't want to call it extreme, but surgery to your genitals is more socially shocking to a lot of people, and that's why they kind of like elevate this, like, oh, this should be like a special exception. I disagree with that, but you can at least understand why they think that. We're just psychotic apes on a rock flying through space, so something that like big is going to be more shocking. There's going to be more of a visceral reaction to it, and we can
it's
disagree with
the
it.
Puritan culture too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the
Genitals.
religious culture on top of that.
Sin is tied to that.
Yeah. And those could be. I mean, with Doug, those could be leftover residuals from his time as a Christian.
Yeah.
And like you can at least understand where they're coming from without like agreeing with them on that.
I do understand where they're coming from, but it just the problem for me is that, again, as at the tip of the spear, it's like you're not really you're talking from fear and not talking from knowledge, and you're not talking from an understanding of the history in either the arena of how sport has dealt with trans people through the decades, and you're just talking out whatever the last thing Matt Walsh had to say on the subject, or Stephen Woodford.
It's playing into the right's hands.
You're just talking. You're just talking, and the problem is that I put a lot more good faith in the arguments that Woodford presents, but Woodford, I don't know if you followed his stuff recently. I mean, he quite famously stepped into it in 2019 and essentially blew up the atheist community of Boston.
Which is a neat power for somebody not even in the country, but yeah.
Exactly. It's like you're sitting over there in England, you put out a goddamn video that says trans women don't belong in sport.
Not to distract from what you're saying, Stephanie, but to talk about Stephen Woodford. I did follow that a little bit back then. And from things that Matt Dillahunty has said about his exit from the ACA and kind of the leadership over there, they have a communication issue. And that lines up with what happened with Stephen Woodford, because Stephen Woodford, I believe he released a video.
Have you watched my video, 30 minutes on the topic?
No, I haven't. I've only watched Stephen Woodford's original video, his response.
No, you should.
Yeah. But no, what I'm saying
you
is...
should, because it's the first time I've actually talked about what happened in 2022. And I was in the middle of it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. We'll have to look at that. But I think it's... I'm not defending Stephen on this. I'm just saying that I think part of that fiasco was partially because I guess Stephen put out the video. He flew to the U.S., appeared on the Atheist Experience. Mm-hmm. I think there was some words said at that point, and Stephen's like, well, I'm going to go home and do... Like, this is all from Stephen's side, so, take it with a grain of salt. But then he got back home, and then he found out he was, like, censored by the ACA. And he was like, wait, I just talked to you guys. I just told you guys I was going to go home and address all this stuff. And there was like some miscommunication there. And then when Matt...
I don't want to relitigate 2019. Yeah. I'm talking about what he's doing today.
Yeah, I think he has a new video out right now talking about kind of an update on it.
Well, he's got several. Yeah. He's got several on the topic. And basically, he's trying as a philosopher to separate sex and gender. He's had several... long talks with Forrest Valkai, and they're actually quite good. But he's still got this tip. His tip is still to this day. I mean, his last thing was, I disagree with Forrest about that trans women could fit into a sporting category that included trans and cis women. And it's like, you want to separate the definitions of sex and gender, and you want to put sex into a binary and gender into a spectrum. And that is a fallacy philosophically, because intersex people falsify that binary.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just you can polemically do that, and he's doing that polemically to categorize anyone who has gone through a male puberty as male when it comes to sport, regardless of the impact of gender affirming hormone therapy post puberty. And those effects are biological, they are medical, and they are true. And there are studies that bear this out. And Stephen just wants people like me to be men when it comes to competition. And it's not the case. And this is what I mean about someone at the tip of the spear. And this is what I mean about people who actually engage in this sphere on a daily basis as part of the way they make their living. Their voices are excluded entirely. I've got 212 subscribers. Stephen has 350,000.
Mm-hmm.
And my voice is doesn't matter. I mean, I can talk to Doug. I can talk here and there, and I can talk, and I will talk until I'm blue in the face. But you can't, these people are just talking out their asses. And as a result of them talking out their asses, sport federations that have dealt with this for over 25 years are, because of the political environment created by these voices, making decisions that are ruining people's prospects for playing, even being on the field. And you think that doesn't have an impact on trans children, on trans people? Like, you're fine. You're fine. Oh yes, Mr. Woodford. I thank you, Massa. I'm who I say I am, except when you say I'm not. I mean, and this is an atheist. This is a rationalist. This is rationality ruling. And the ruling is, you are what I determine and what I say you are. That's rationality ruling. And I ain't gonna be your fucking slave, bud.
So I know this is a very near and dear issue, and I think it's an important issue to have a discussion on. And I don't want to minimize your feelings about this, but do you think that might be a little hyperbolic when you're saying that?
No.
Like, okay, so if somebody makes a comment about, trans women in sports, and say that, hey, I don't think that, because of the, and I'm not saying this is my position, I'm just asking this hypothetical. Somebody says that, hey, I don't think that trans women should play in women's sports because they are experiencing the benefits of having gone through the hormonal ember. I'm sorry.
Trying to lay the mood a little.
Somebody that says, hey, trans women shouldn't participate in women's sports because they are experiencing and benefiting from the hormonal benefits of having gone through puberty as a man. if somebody just simply says just that, do you extend that as an attack on you or attack on transgender people in general? Like, could that be said in just a vacuum and just a person saying, hey, I see this, there's a possible unfair advantage for trans women in this situation, but then not make any comment about the trans community in general? Like, is it possible for somebody to do that without that being a threat to everything else?
It tells me that they're woefully uneducated about the situation.
Sure,
They
sure.
don't have a lot of knowledge.
But let's just say they're coming at it from an earnest point of view, and they're saying, "Hey, I think this is the case."
It doesn't mean that they're hateful. It doesn't mean they're bigoted. It means they're ignorant. But unfortunately, it means they're making their decisions out of ignorance.
But they seem to be singularly devoted to their ignorance. That's the thing that is disturbing.
Well,
They're a whole.
Well, let's just say somebody just they actually did studying and they looked at all the information. They said, hey, I think this is still an unfair advantage for trans women in women's sports.
Yeah, but I think that, and you've got to bring the data.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great thing to do. And I mean,
bring the data. Oh God, I closed this tab and I need to open it.
Talk dirty to it, Stephanie. Well, I'm gonna play this video. This is from Tizzy Ent.
This guy looks familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen him before, but who knows?
I really was resistant to the idea of the gay agenda, to this idea that it's just being like put in our face.
You think that background music is going to be?
And I think that one's public domain.
That's public domain music.
All the time.
I think this guy's. I don't know. When I hear music like this in the background, I usually think like, "Oh, this guy's trying to make himself appear smarter than he feels."
Yeah.
Classy, if not classical.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm kind of come around. Like, imagine you wanted to go to an arcade and get a claw machine, maybe play some skee ball, and you had to deal with this.
So this is just a fair use at try to pause it every 17 seconds or 15 seconds or so. But basically this is changing his mind that public domain spaces and the trans community juxtaposition.
Christians proclaim Jesus in a public arcade.
Oh, I gotta add that to my I have a
you want
compilation.
to go to an amusement park and ride the Ferris wheel, and yet it's inescapable. Jesus Christ! His name is Jesus Christ! His name is Jesus. How about?
What do you think so far?
I feel that.
Did this guy make this video? And he's cutting in these shots over him talking about him coming around to realizing there's a quote unquote gay agenda, or is this somebody else splicing these together to make him look foolish?
This is his video, I believe, professing his newfound love of who has the agenda and who does not.
Okay, I need a context there. What's this guy's name?
Tizzy Ent. TIZZYENT on Twitter.
Oh, Tizzy Ent. Okay. Oh, he dropped this 9 hours ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You were just hitting the mall to grab like a new pair of Oakleys and an Orange Julius. And there they are with their agenda. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the gay agenda. That's something else. You know what a gay person has never done to me? They've never yelled at me on a street with like a microphone and a bullhorn.
Tell you just for a moment, man, if you can hear me, that there's a man who loves you and his love has never failed for you, and his name is Jesus Christ.
How many times have you uncomfortably been involved with like that kind of conversions? I've definitely seen the yelling person, been trapped on a subway on the Chicago L and had somebody preaching. I've been on New York subway and had somebody preaching. And most of the time it's pretty common for them to just say, you know, hey, move along. We don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But to see a flash mob yelling in a church or at a Ferris wheel or the various places, who's experienced that?
I've never seen a flash mob like that before, because I've gone to like conventions like Comic-Con. I've been to my old religious conventions, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's been protesters outside with signs and yelling things. It's like I've seen like individuals do it and maybe small tiny groups, like 2-3 people, but no, I've never seen like a whole flash mob happen before. I've seen similar videos with some guy at a plane like busted out like an airliner mid-flight, took out a guitar, and him and a few others started singing Christian hymns, and it's like, oh man. Yeah, I've never seen it in person, but I mean, we have video footage right here. It happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all over the damn place.
Yeah. I wonder.
I've never had a gay person knock on my door of my home and want to spread the good word of the gay to me.
Finally.
Even though that sounds kind of awesome. I've never seen a gay person travel around, raise money from donations from people, to then go to another country to find people that have had very little contact with the outside world, and then tell those people, you're damned.
Yeah. There's no gay missionaries out there trying to preach the gospel of gay.
Yeah.
There's no trans knocking on people's doors and asking to be invited in. And Stephanie, you really need to start getting on that. Get a pamphlet.
Pardon?
Get a pamphlet and explain. Have you heard the good news of the eternal salvation of
I'm trying to figure out how to share
and you're going to suffer for eternity unless you join our gay club. I've never seen that happen. See, I think it's clear that y'all don't actually have.
Well, you see, it's bad for the gay agenda to do this because they don't have God on their side. If you add God to the mix, now you're justified. Now it's allowed and in fact moral. It's immoral to not do this.
Yeah.
It is immoral to not go screaming through a mall praising Jesus.
Yeah.
Because hey, maybe just maybe, you joining a flash mob in a mall might convert a single person somewhere in there. And if you don't do it, and God realizes, hey, this person would have converted had you not gone screaming through this, or if you had gone screaming through this mall, you could be found blood guilty. God could judge you for not joining that flash mob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we finish this, dude, I found my collection of clips of this sort of nonsense.
I guess as many pride parades that I've been to in my life, the number of, I suppose you could have something equal, but that's a parade. It's designed to be that way.
Yeah, like that's the difference. We get
Pride
permits
Parade.
and have like isolated events. We're not fucking everywhere. Being in people's faces.
If you could, I just
problem
shared
people
this
shoving their lifestyle into your face.
Once we're done.
Your
with
problem is y'all feel like you've cornered the market, and you look at the LGBTQ plus community like they're moving in on your turf. Funny enough, all I've ever seen that community say is, we exist and we matter, and if you're one of us, you matter too. That's not indoctrination. If you'd like to see what indoctrination looks like, just let this video loop over and see examples 1 through 4. You know, I really...
I had, before I knew what this guy was, before he explained to me who he was, I was like, oh no, this guy is talking about switching over to believing in the gay agenda, and here's all the problems with it, and then it just like 180 back around, like, oh, he's actually speaking some sense.
Yeah, it was really well done because it subverts your expectations that way.
Yeah. I wonder what's going through those people's minds when they are out in public screaming into a megaphone or into a karaoke machine.
Well, they have a rush. They have a rush.
It's like what parts of their brains are lighting up?
Euphoric Jesus rush.
Yeah.
It's the whole pay attention to me thing.
Yeah, B.S. Lewis, you got me. I judge him because of the long beard. It's because of my experience with Joe Inslee. Whenever I see a beard longer than 2 inches, I'm immediately like, this dude's a crazy Christian. Yeah. I'm a beardist. I'm sorry. But yeah, like what are these people thinking? What are these people thinking their God is doing when they see them? What do these people think God is doing when he sees them do this? Like, do they think God has a big smile on his face? Like, oh, look, my followers are doing some theatrics for me. I like this. This pleases God because, God likes theatrics. I mean,
it pleases God because it pleases me. That's
exactly
the thing. It's just,
exactly.
Their God is exactly who they want their God to be.
The God is a reflection of the believer, and
and it goes the same for people who want to be attached to their beliefs. There's what I'm sharing right now is the story of a woman. I can read it. From 1968 to 2000, women athletes had to undergo genetic testing to prove their sex before they could compete. From its inception, medical experts questioned the ethics and efficacy of this policy. As an athlete, I believe it added an obstacle to the already demanding course that women had to take to participate in sport.
From 68 to 2000, what drove this testing? Was it because weren't there like men that were masquerading as
the same thing that's driving it now?
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about doping here. I mean, in the famous the stories that you saw in the 60s and 70s of the East German women who were doping, taking testosterone to juke themselves. That's a different issue from trans and intersex people participating in sport. If you could set it aside for a second, listen to this woman's story. I was born and raised in northern Spain. I had the life of a normal girl, except that I had an affinity for running and jumping. I excelled in athletics and competed at the national level, but only because of concentrated effort and training on her part. I was overjoyed to be able to participate in the 1983 World Track and Field Championships in Helsinki, Finland, when I was 22 years old. There, I passed my first sex test and was given a certificate of femininity. And there it is, the certificate of femininity. In 1985, I went to the World University Games in Kobe, Japan, and unfortunately, I forgot my certificate. My buccal smear test for 2 X chromosomes had to be repeated. Later that day, our team doctor told me, in front of the teammates I sat with on the night before my race, that there was a problem with my result. in the hospital the next day, I learned that a sophisticated karyotype analysis would be undertaken and that the results would take months to reach my sports federation in Spain. I mean, I want to remind you people, you folks, that this is in 83. 83. And you people think this is a fucking new thing.
Never said it was a new thing. It's definitely something that's been thrust into the spotlight as of late.
Mm-hmm.
It's been thrust into the spotlight as of late.
It's a new thing from the perspective of many people.
What I'm trying to say is that it's being thrust into the spotlight, but sporting federations have dealt with this issue for years.
Yeah.
And now it's politics. It's not people.
Right.
So she left her certificate behind. She went to Kobe. Oops. She was told to fake an injury so no one would suspect anything untoward. I was shocked, but I did as I was told. I sat in the stands that day watching my teammates, wondering how my body differed from theirs. I spent the rest of that week in my room. Did I have AIDS? As I was about to enter the January 1986 National Championships, I was told to feign an injury again. Withdraw from racing quietly, graciously, and permanently. Why? Because back in Spain, I began trying to come to terms with what was happening. Growing up, neither my family nor I had any idea I was anything other than normal. I went to the best doctors. I attended all appointments alone. However, because I had the heart to tell my parents something was wrong, they were still grieving for my brother who had passed away. And because my federation, my sports federation, was at a loss about what to do, until the karyotype result came through 2 months on, the letter arrived. All of the 50 counted cells by Gisma staining had 46 chromosomes. Karyotype analysis by Q banding method revealed her sex chromosome constitution is XY. Karyotype is decided XY. I have androgen insensitivity, aka CAIS, complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. So this is a woman who has her body cannot take up testosterone. When I was conceived, my tissues never heard the hormonal messages to become male. She was barred from, she was disqualified. From competing at all. Over the next 2 years, I received letters of support from Finnish geneticist, a vocal opponent of blanket chromosome testing, Wilson Carlson, it's an American coach, and blah, 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 blah. 1988, medical chairman of International Federation for Athletics gave me license to run again. I paid a high price for my license. My story was told, dissected, discussed in a very public way, and my victory was bittersweet. After 3 years away from sports, my momentum was lost. I trained hoping to qualify for the 92 Olympics in Barcelona, but missed the mark at the trials by 0.10 of a second. I've helped other sportsmen, women with genetic variants, participate without fear, however, and my experience made me stronger. This is a heroine. Having my womanliness tested, literally and figuratively, I suspect I have a surer sense of my femininity than many women. Maria Jose Martinez Patino was singularly responsible for the International Olympic Committee suspending karyotype testing as a qualification for participating in women's sport. Because the biology we are talking about led her to be phenotypically female. Vagina, breasts, physical features, passing the test. What she doesn't mention is that the physical test in 1968, between 1968 and 2000, was you stripped naked in front of a bunch of men. And you bent over and palpitated what's between your legs. That's how you got to be given a certificate of femininity.
Okay, so I agree that this is an injustice. She shouldn't have had to go through this. I understand all that. I'm not saying any of this was right. The core reason for that, though, what was the core motivation? Because back in the 60s, you know, we had trans folks.
Just fairness.
Excuse me?
It's fairness. It's fairness. You can't have men competing against women.
Right.
Fairness. That's what the whole thing was. Fairness. It's the same goddamn argument right now, but it's not based on science. It's not based on actual. It's not based on individuals. It's not based on people. It's based on somebody's thought.
Well, I think everything we do is based on thoughts.
That XY means male.
Right.
Therefore male. It's based on thought that this cluster of traits, while otherwise qualifying you as female, is negated by one particular thing, and that is chromosomes. Even though in every other respect, the science point, Magic 8 Ball says female. In this one particular thing, we're going to lay our pin on chromosomes, and that's not scientific. It's not skeptical. It's not anything. It's just a bunch of societal bullshit that we have decided that this characteristic matters more than any other one. And the IOC rejected it in 1998. It's like that they stopped doing it. And they basically went on the basis, they basically decided, they changed their qualification for participating in women's sport to testosterone levels. And still that's imperfect, because in the last quad, two cis women from Southern Africa were disqualified on the basis of naturally higher testosterone that violated World Athletics standards of 5 nanomoles per liter of T
So
in
what,
blood.
Stephanie, what is your solution to this? If you could rewrite the world to your liking, what would be your solution to all this?
My solution to all of this, I guess, as long as we're going to have male and female categories, I think we're going to need to, it's like, okay, I played by the rules, right? I submitted my stuff to World Sailing, and it's like, well, this is my T levels. It's like,
Right.
Here you go. If it ever becomes a question, here you go. It's like you.
Do you think the
My solution is, if you're, as long as we're going to separate, then yeah, let's try to identify the advantages, but you can't make a blanket assertion. I mean, if you basically say, the problem I have is that born male, puberty male, constant advantage in athletics. In other words, if you were born male, had a male puberty, if you were born male at all, which is where the essentialists go and where the bioessentialists go, if you're born male at all, if you have XY chromosomes, you are male.
Yeah, I understand.
And you are male sexually, and you are male in terms of gender.
Right. I understand.
That's where people want to land.
Yeah,
on this.
I understand. I understand, Stephanie. I understand this is and I'm not taking a position here. I'm just trying to learn here. This is a complex, multi-layered problem. Do you think that, and I asked you if you could rewrite the world, how exactly would you like it to look? Like where would you want it to be to make the most amount of people satisfied with the system? Like, I mean, just imagine you're God for a moment. You can just snap your fingers and make it however you like. Like, what would you like it to look like? Do you think, I guess maybe, let me narrow the question down. Do you think men and women categories in sports is sufficient in that ideal solution of yours? Or should there be something different in place to accommodate perhaps a more diverse set of, more diverse sets of people? Or is our current sports system sufficient with the way it's structured to handle that solution that you would want to implement?
No,
Okay.
it's not, because there are a number of considerations. A bunch of them social, several of them medical. I mean, I do think that I'm not a trans medicalist. I'm not someone who says you can't be trans and you have to medically transition in order to be a trans person. I'm not one of those. I accept, and this may sound hypocritical, probably is, except when it comes to sport. I do think there are, and this is what's incredibly troubling. There are medical differences, biological differences between a human body that runs on that has a bunch of testosterone running around their blood, and is as the primary sex hormone and estrogen. There are demonstrable differences. So when it comes to sport, if there are to be divisions, I have no objection to testing T levels. I think that it's legitimate to study where those levels are. I think Veronica Ivy basically says T doesn't matter. I'm not sure that's true, but we can figure this out.
I guess the reason I asked that is,
and we have figured it out. The sporting federations have dealt with this, as that last thing I threw up there. We've been dealing with this since a long time ago. But it's suddenly a big thing, and you really need to think. If you, there are so many levels here. If you are willing to say, as many do, trans women are women because I'm separating sex and gender, and sex is binary, gender is bimodal. You will run into a problem because sex is also bimodal, and sexual characteristics, the physical, biological characteristics of people are mutable. They're not immutable. If I have, I have in my bloodstream cannot carry as much oxygen as my bloodstream used to. Not because I smoke, but because I don't have any testosterone in it. The VO2 levels of transgender people receiving gender-affirming hormone therapy from either direction wind up being the same as those of the target gender after 6 months of gender-affirming hormone therapy. Now, if you don't think that oxygen matters biologically, maybe you don't understand how physiology works.
Tasty oxygens.
You might have larger lungs, you might have a bigger heart, but you don't have enough. It's not carrying the oxygen ain't going to the muscles anymore. And physical strength tests have been performed. And it's not a real conversation. We're not having the same conversation.
Well, I'm just asking questions and trying to understand. I'm not taking any position. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I don't care about sports. I care about transition in sports. I'm not saying that's not important. Just sports in general, I've never been into. So my brain's not wired to really consider, a lot of this kind of stuff. So I asked earlier if the men-women categories in sports was sufficient to accommodate an ideal solution that you might present. You said no. How would you modify that? Would you redefine the men-women categories and do something, both of them being different? Would you add more categories? Would which way would you like to step?
No,
with that?
I think that I think the categories are important. Are they adequate? I don't know, but I think they are important because in sport, like in many other realms of society, women have been excluded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in many cases, or in probably all cases, unfairly. Absolutely.
And I think that, unlike many who comment, I think Dillahunty basically, I don't want to say maybe weight categories, maybe this, that, and the other thing. No, I think it's really important that culturally there are spaces for women to compete, and those spaces should include trans women, because trans women have been excluded from sport.
Sure. Mm-hmm. What if let's just say let's kind of simplify the scenario, because it can be very easy to like look at the all the edge cases and all the different configurations of an individual and a human, and look at all those together and go, wow, this is like overwhelming. There's so many differences with, like, Andrew pointed out that the individual in your article that you read was, according to Andrew, she was XY, even though she never went through male puberty. So she doesn't have the advantages of hormones, but she's classified as something else. But like, she would be classified as something else based on her chromosomes, but she was classified as a woman based off of the genital inspection test, as terrible as that is. Yeah.
Phenotype.
So
yeah. Phenotype.
So we have individuals like that. And I don't know how uncommon those are, but let's just for the sake of argument, call that an edge case. Let's say that's an individual who kind of just seems to evade any type of like classification that we currently have. There's probably many more of them, and I'm sure there are, but let's just say that's an edge case. What categories should we add to sports to accommodate? I take that back. Let's just say we don't worry about edge cases right now. Let's worry about just the general bulk of individuals. Would expanding sports into, say, men, women, trans women, 4 categories?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Of course not.
Is it at least?
Shall we restructure the educational system into blacks, mulattoes,
right,
whites?
So,
I mean, no, it's segregation. Segregation is that's not the point. The whole point of women's sport is to encourage women to participate
but
in
sports
sport.
are already segregated, though. We segregate between men and women, right? So we're adding additional segregation, delimiters in there. Is it a step closer to a better solution? Is it a step further away from a solution? Like I said, I'm trying to understand, so I want to get your perspective on that. Is adding categories like that helpful?
All right, so FINA today, they announced that they were going to have a trans category. FINA is the Fédération Nautique. Fédération Internationale Nautique Aqua, whatever it is, association. And so it's swimming, right? So they announced they were going to have we're going to have a trans division. You know how many people signed up? 0.
Okay.
So that's excluding people. It's excluding people. You're talking about excluding people at all. As long as we have a bifurcation between the two, as long as we have women's sport, men's sport thing, and it is going to depend on each individual sport. I do think in my
I agree with that there, yeah.
that I compete at an elite level. I mean, world championships and shit. the differences between men's and women's performance is very, very small. But but the question is, even as I say that, I catch myself. It's like, the comparisons that people make are men versus women, not trans men versus cis men and trans women versus cis women.
Well, I'm not saying we have a structure like
And
that.
when those comparisons are made, there's no evidence that either category has an advantage.
Well, I agree. I agree with you earlier that it depends on the sports. Probably each sport should have different categories of classification. Like I follow esports, video game esports, and yeah, like StarCraft, pro StarCraft players. There's no division between sexes or gender or anything like that. It's just you have a pool of StarCraft players and they all play together. I think chess is also the same way these days. Are there chess categories based on?
You do remember Gamergate, though.
I believe chess is well, it depends. There's the International Chess Federation, then there's the National Association of Chess. So there's a few different organizations. Some of them, I think it's the International Federation, are unsegregated, but another big one, I forget which one off the top of my head, but it made waves that even reached over to the line. Jimmy Snow was talking about it, where they are segregated, and the male division banned trans men from competing in chess because
Wow.
Yeah, well, that whole thing is that whole thing's incredibly stupid.
Piles of
I
stupid.
mean, it's basically it's tons of stupid. That whole thing is the women's championships are there for social reasons to get women interested in the game. Right? I mean, in situations where women have been excluded from I don't know, being welcomed even in participating. That's why women's sports are important. It's because girls have been told they can't compete with men.
So Aunt Jur brings up an interesting alternative in the chat. She says that I think they should separate based on skill level, just like they do with junior varsity and varsity teams. Just instead of girls varsity or boys varsity, there's just varsity. So perhaps we look at every single sport individually and we say, okay, these are, because some sports are mental, some sports are physical, and some sports are a ratio of both. For every sport, just have a set of skills that this sport requires. Like, say for instance, arm wrestling. Arm wrestling requires upper arm strength. Separate people out based on tests. Like, okay, you fall in this range of arm strength, this range of arm strength, this range of arm strength, and we can separate out people that way.
It's too complicated.
So honestly,
I think
so right there.
too
Hold on.
complicated.
So hold
I
on.
think it's too
Hold on. So,
complicated.
guys,
I think it's too complicated because I think
Can I
it's
step in?
that means you do away with the WNBA. That means you do away with the
here's where I might have a little bit of clarity on that, because I don't care about sports. I don't care if things have to be abolished in sports or restructured.
Right.
You said that was too complicated, and I agree. That would probably be a very complicated problem. But I think by just kind of dismissing it like that, we're not exploring potential options there that may inform other options outside of that.
I don't want to see the WNBA disappear because it's a different game than the men's game. I don't want to see the women's national soccer team disappear because it's a different game and with at a different level.
But so you said you don't want to see, like, for instance, a WNBA. You don't want to see that disappear. But earlier you mentioned that you don't think that the current delineation or difference, or I'm sorry, the two categories of men and women are sufficient for our sports. So like if we were to add a new category, we could probably keep the WNBA, but we're gonna have a different also NBA alongside it. You're gonna have the male NBA, the WNBA, and then the whatever other additionals we had.
And then the trans NBA.
Well-
it was like, okay, separate.
Well, maybe
but
an
equal.
intramural
Thank
one.
You so much.
Well, like I said,
Appreciate
there's
that.
already. And yeah, I mean, I can see the yeah. Okay, we can imagine this will get just spiral out of control, and like, oh, we have all these divisions, and why not races, and why not, countries of birth, and why not? Like, I can understand. I understand the idea that can spiral out of control. I'm not saying we need to go there. I'm saying, but looking at this may inform us for other decisions, may give us some ideas, or maybe say, hey, we see something here that may be effective in a different solution. What, other than the inconvenience of it, what's wrong with restructuring every sport out there? Each one has its own criteria. Each one has its own set of skills. Each one is evaluated. Competitors are evaluated based on those skills. And we categorize based on those instead of categorize based on genetic makeup or like gender
Economics.
expression of our brains. Like, kind of abandon that.
Economics.
Economics.
Yeah.
The money.
Sure. I can see that would be a hindering issue, but I don't see that as like a social issue. That's more of just a financial issue.
It's well, economics is a social issue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like, I mean, you can't separate the real world of it from the whole thing, and you can't really. The importance of women's sport to me is telling women and girls they can. And it's been a keystone of the effort in my sport for 2 decades anyway, to let girls know they can. And that's why people like Dawn Riley are heroines of mine. People like Bonnie Shore are heroines of mine. These are women who've achieved greatness within my sport. And they gave me, and they give women and girls a level of confidence that they can actually compete.
I would.
Yeah,
and that's why the Stanford sailing team fielded a team at the Intercollegiate Nationals of 4 women who dominated the event this year. First time ever that 4 women took the national championship in collegiate sailing. I mean, that's the enlightened thing, but it took years. And what we're going to do with exclusion is roll all of that back.
What I'd like to do is bring it back to religion.
Sounds
and
good.
That is making more categories of gender would be my goal or my preference, just because this would be a thumb in the eye of all Christians who just believe male and female. Because there are children born who are either neither, both, or unknown.
Yeah. It could very well be that there are just too many possibilities and too many ways we can divide this up, where it's just, like as Stephanie said, not practical, uneconomical, too complicated. It could be that this might be, I hate to say it might be an unsolvable problem with the way our society is structured and the way we want to have things, and there's a practicality and utility in the way as well. Yeah.
It's solvable insofar as people stop being jerks about it. I mean, it's like if Mac Biggs wants to wrestle other boys, let him. You know, as a trans teenager in the Texas school system, Texas law prevented him from wrestling where he wanted to wrestle. And therefore, he was the poster child of, oh my God, look at this guy taking out these girls. Well, he's a trans dude. And he wants to wrestle other dudes, but you're going to make him wrestle in the girls division, and you're going to give him the state championship because of your stupid law.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I empathize with the dude for not being able to wrestle where he wants, but on the flip side, he gets to really stick it into people's eyes about how fucking dumb they're being. Like, every time a big old trans dude has to use a ladies' room and the women are like, oh my God, there's a man in here. Yes, there's a man in here because your laws are fucking stupid. You have to show it to them. You have to put it in their faces and be like, you asked for this. Yes, it's dumb. We told you it would be dumb, and you did it anyway.
My solution, I'm going to propose a solution here, and it's extreme, but I think it'll solve the problem, make it go away. Abolish sports.
Yeah, right. That's not going to happen.
It would solve the problem, though. Like, make the problem go away.
Well,
sure it would, but it's not gonna stop the season.
It'll stop the sports problem. It'll make the sports problem go away. And I'm saying that as a joke. I don't actually mean that.
But it won't because people still want to play. Humans want to play. People want to play. All of these things are games.
We can say, right? Hey,
playing is something people like to do. People enjoy playing. And I don't enjoy. I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in electronic games. I find we've had this discussion before. I've got no desire whatsoever to even step into that realm. But even within that realm, dude, you had Gamergate, where particularly trans women were fucking excoriated online for just existing.
Yeah, people can be shitty. I agree.
But people still want to play, and people are going to be shitty when they don't want to let you play.
I guess my point with my joke was that if we can't come up with a new system that accommodates the diversity we are discovering in our society, like I'm not, over the past 50, 60 years, like 100 years ago, mention trans issues to somebody and nobody's going to know what you're talking about. It wasn't a thing back then, at least as far as I know. Second half of the 20th century, more and more people are discovering this more granular human experience and exploring these things. And now, because of the last, 5-6 years, it's been thrust into the spotlight because of politics and all that stuff. So this is a potentially, with just respect to sports, this is potentially an unsolvable problem. If we cannot come up with a new system that accommodates this diversity, this could potentially be an unsolvable problem. We could be perpetually trying to cram a square peg into a round hole because we have human society a certain way and our sports a certain way, and they aren't necessarily 100% compatible. There's going to be people excluded unless we find some way to match them up 1-to-1. So it could
for me, it's really a problem that doesn't exist and never has, and it only exists in the minds of the people that think it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a non-problem seeking a non-solution, and it's a sop to people's bigotry. That's all it is.
Yep, could be the case. Yeah. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate this discussion around it because, like I said, I'm novice. I'm new to this. I'm not taking any strong positions on any side. I'm just gathering people's opinions, information about it. So yeah, thank you for sharing all that with me. Really appreciate it.
And sorry, Tux.
Yeah, you want to talk about religion, Tux?
Yes.
This is his channel after all.
Yes.
Piracy.
Yeah. I like turtles.
Oh, I have one of those.
Actually,
you have a
I do
turtle?
wear,
Oh,
I do wear a turtle all the time, but
that's
I
a
mean,
picture of a turtle.
Oh, boy.
You had my hopes up there for a second, Ember.
That's funny. No, I very much prefer the what you call it, whatever I'm trying to say. It's late. I'm tired. Ember, what you got going on there on your screen? Let's
Okay, this
get
is
your
back
thing
with
wrapped
the,
up. I'm gonna do Moment Zen, go to bed.
Good plan. I'm also quite tired. This was from the TikTok video from earlier. It reminded me of the compilation of clips of Christians being everywhere and in your face that I put together a while ago. And so yeah, that's what this is.
Nice.
The moment that you preach about Jesus and sin, everybody's up in arms.
In America, where persecutions are breaking out everywhere against Christians.
Christianity is the most
Bullshit.
openly easily mocked. This is true. Christianity is the most hated and mocked religion.
Oh, I like this guy.
Oh,
Stop it! Stop! Stop the whining and the sniveling right now. You are not oppressed as a Christian in this country. Quit your sniveling whining. You're whining and crying because what? Because nobody's letting you treat gay people like shit anymore? What the hell is wrong with you?
The Catholic priest saying
whining.
shit. That's great.
Stop it!
He's Lutheran, but yeah.
Oh. Oh, they have the same guard?
Countries in the last 2 years
I thought that was
to share the
a
gospel of Jesus Christ.
collar thingy. Frock? What are they were calling?
Change who you are from the inside. Jesus Christ can change your way. You can't do it yourself. We can't.
Cassock.
We're helpless. We're hopeless in ourselves, but Jesus has come to save us.
My friends, Jesus Christ is coming soon. Choose this day who you will serve. This way. God loves you. One day he is sending his son back to this place. Repent of your sins. Hallelujah. Give your life to Jesus Christ. His glory.
I'm here to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. You guys are all rushing, jam-packed to get home. But the path to the Lord is narrow. Narrow is the way. If you there be
Nothing like a captive audience to spread the word.
Jesus Christ.
You're angry. I'm not angry.
You sound angry.
I am not. I'm angry that
I'm not, as he gets in her face.
to the evil around you. That your children are suffering and you don't care.
You're on
This
the
is what-
fucking
this is
subway, man.
All you care about
This is what
more
crazy
sin.
people do.
Yeah, you're on the
Yeah, here
fucking
it is.
subway. Shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry for you because you're walking away from eternal life. I'm sorry for you because you're walking away from eternal riches.
I'm sorry for you because you're a fucking douchebag.
His God is smiling down upon him.
yes. Oh, God, it's love.
We're all made in the image of God. We were made to have relationship with him. You will never be fulfilled. You will never have purpose.
Bow chicka bow wow.
You know
Oh,
what?
man.
Yeah.
Take and shove it.
It's a lot.
Oh, what do we got here?
Like I mentioned
What is it?
earlier. I mentioned earlier that these people like theatrics because they think their God likes theatrics. God could have poofed everybody on the planet that he didn't like, but no, he sent a flood. He had to make it grandiose. He had to have like panache with it. It's like this is a God that really needs you to be impressed by him.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't.
Well,
Like you think a God secure in his godhood and a God that would just be functional and just like, hey, I have a goal. I'm going to snap my fingers and make it happen, and voila, we're done. No, he has to have people screaming from the rooftops. He has to have floods, Sodom and Gomorrah. He has to have Jericho, the walls fall. He has to have these super impressive things because he really wants man to be impressed by him. And like these people are the same way. They think that their God needs those theatrics to be impressed. It's like they're reflecting that right back onto their God.
These people are the same way because they invent that God. I said this
it's their
earlier.
invention.
It's their invention.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. God seems to agree with me on apps in every particular, with what my prejudice is, with my stuff, and how do I know that? Because I have taken into my identity as a person everything that's written in Holy Writ. And that's me, and therefore it's God, and therefore worship me. Worship my image. Take my image and make it your own. And then you will feel as I do, saved. It's bullshit. It's crap. And it's the same in every religion. It's not just Christianity. It's the same in every religion. Except for those that afford that and they are few and far between, that afford you a certain leeway in your own agency. And people invent this God. It's just it's so right out there.
Kenneth Copeland's eyes are just like disproportionately small compared to the rest.
That's because he's a demon.
It's like
he's a lizard person.
I don't believe in demons, but Kenneth Copeland.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of. Go ahead.
He's a demon inside his own plane. He is. He's the demon inside his own tube.
You seen that video where he was approached. He was approached by, was it a reporter?
Yeah, Inside Edition.
Yeah, and just the look on his face. This guy reminds me of Cotton Hill from King of the Hill. He is a spitting image of Cotton Hill. I totally could see him saying, "I killed 50 men."
Well, this is BS's contribution to the show.
You uncircumcised Philistine. This uncircumcised
Nice.
Philistine. This uncircumcised Philistine. We wrestle against you, rulers of the darkness of this world. You don't rule us. You don't rule us.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That was a good palate cleanser. That kind of reminds me of Symphony of Science. Remember those? Are they still making those Symphony of Science songs?
Symphony of Science.
You ever heard of it?
Remember that? No.
Oh man, so Symphony of Science is a person or a group of people. They take samples of quotes from famous scientists and atheists, and then they tone pitch them and stitch them together into really good songs. Man, this is probably last one I listened to was maybe about 10 years ago. They're at least 12, 13 years old now. Are they making any new ones? They got some really nice stuff. Which also raises the question, are there Christians doing this with their Christian leaders? Are they making weird music based off of quotes from their religious leaders?
Oh, or are they doing it to our religious leaders? Like, I would love to see an Aaron Ra Rampage remix.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Aaron Ra Rampage, the Raw Rampage remix. That's a bestseller right there.
And your starting lineup for the.
So
They have all.
Aaron gives good hostility. Matt gives good hostility. It's like, it's so much of this stuff is showbiz.
So I'm gonna throw it. I'll throw it in. I'll throw it in the chat. I don't recommend playing it because you're probably copyright striked. But that's probably one of the most famous ones. Symphony of Science. We Are All Connected. It's a 13-year-old video, 8.7 million views. You can actually download the MP3s at symphonyofscience.com. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, I've seen some of these.
Yeah.
Somebody did a remix of Carl Sagan's
Yep.
If we do not destroy ourselves, we will someday venture to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like my favorite song for like a solid month.
If you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first create the universe. That's another snippet they use from him.
Yeah.
I see videos as new as 1 month ago. They might be making music still. Man, if they have been making music for 10 years, that's a pretty big backlog to go through. That's going to be fun.
That's a good stretch. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should wrap things up. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me tonight. I'd like to thank my new subscribers and Neil, the 604 Atheist, and Mikey, and the various folks who were on the after show. The Steph was on the after show and on the after show, and Swede was on Better Than Ember. Ember's on the after show and the after show, and Skeptics and Scoundrels. Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels was on the after show ish.
After the after show.
And then he was on the after show.
You join streams after the end, right? I thought that's how it worked.
Ollie was on there, and who else? There was Mikey.
Other Mikey.
The other Mikey. And
me.
Yeah, I got Steph. I'm pretty sure I got Steph.
No, not me.
Oh, Megan.
Yeah.
And Megan. Megan was on the after show and the after show also.
Mm-hmm.
So all of their, I have already put their channels in the descriptions and mention them. So check out their channels, subscribe, and do all the algorithm things for building the community. It's greatly appreciated. And
subscribe to everybody's channels because you never know who's going to pop up on who else's channel at what time.
Yeah.
All of us bomb other people's shows all the time.
And you know what? We all need algorithm.
Algorithm.
He's just not. I was never a big fan of Al Gore.
Stephanie's Bob doling out some wisdom there.
Super serial.
Yeah. I mean, well, no, I liked Al Gore, but rhythm is not something I ever really associate with the guy. You know.
Well, that's what Symphony of Science does. It takes just random quotes and turns them into music.
I'm a #1 fan of the man from Tennessee. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, congrats on 100 texts.
Yeah, thank you.
103. Look at you.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's great.
I jumped about 9, I think. I was at 94, I think, this afternoon.
Nice.
And if the weather starts to get crappy, I'll put out more stuff. But as of right now, it's just been too perfect in Chicago. Like, it's been beautiful.
Sounds nice.
So
it started raining here in Seattle, like right on cue. When autumn started, rain.
Yeah.
Just instant.
Monsoon season.
Stay tuned over at Steffi Cath for some brief little snippets of the Etchells New England Championships. I hope to get some stuff out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, putting the boat in the water and putting it together and putting the team together and you know, some sailing. Let's go out and touch grass, folks, or you know, get your feet wet. Anyway, it's there's so much good stuff in the world.
Here.
And
vitamin D is good when you can get it.
And good people too.
Yeah.
All these people.
That's true. We've been so lucky for good weather here in Chicago. Can't normally say that. All right. Well, I'm going to do a moment of Zen. Thank you all for coming on. And Bowtie bless. Should we do? Let's do Bloody Jesus. What do you think? What do you say?
Sure.
Be wary of your free gift of salvation, for it comes with Bloody Jesus. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Gave means bloody Jesus. he has to murder his son. And I find it hard to believe that a God so amazing could only have one son, only begotten. And if bloody Jesus was, hugged instead of gave, bloody Jesus wouldn't be an evil so evil it's seen as good. Bowtie bless. Thank you all. And here's your moment of Zen.
Bye. I'm still here.